In this segment, I'll talk about blood vessels. I'm going to start by talking about capillaries, because these are the functional part of a circulatory system. Capillaries are leaky, and it's where exchange happens. A way to draw a capillary would be to capture the idea of this leakiness. These are endothelial cells, capillary endothelium, epithelial tissue, which means it has basement membrane, and then this single layer of cells. Capillaries are leaky. They have gaps in between the cells and sometimes areas where the membrane has opened up to leave a pore. Fluid can go in and out, water and small molecules, but proteins stay in. They're trapped because these gaps are too small for them to fit. Anywhere there are capillaries, fluid is going in or out depending upon the pressures. Small molecules go in or out. Proteins and cells remain within the capillary. A typical capillary in a mammal or a bird is about the diameter or a little less than the diameter of a red blood cell. Blood typically makes just one pass through capillaries. So let's talk a bit more about exchange. Let's imagine we have an arteriole coming down and a capillary that splits off and then joins with others to form a venule. So here's an arteriole, and capillary starts here. There's a precapillary sphincter, smooth muscle, that can close that off. We won't talk about that in detail. And on this end, venule, the blood is going this way and back. The highest pressures in a capillary are here. So highest pressure where the blood enters. And the lowest pressure in a capillary, say that the pressure coming in is 10 millimeters of mercury, and the pressure leaving might be 1 millimeter of mercury. And these vary in different animals and in different parts of the body. So remember, capillaries are leaky. If blood is coming in under pressure, we would expect water and small solutes to leave. But as the pressure goes down, it would be leaving at a slower and slower pace, less and less water and solutes leaving. And remember a detail. I told you that proteins remain. So the proteins are staying in. Water is leaving with small solutes, but the protein always remains, and so we have an increasing protein concentration. All those blood proteins increase in concentration because the water leaves them behind. The result is that osmotic pressure starts to bring water back in, again carrying with it small solutes. So as you get to the end of the capillary where the physical pressure, the hydrostatic pressure, is lower, now you get more and more water tending to come back in because of osmotic pressure. At the beginning, fluid is tending to leave, carrying solutes, and at the end of that capillary, fluid is tending to come back in. So at any given time, in a small area, you have water leaving and tending to come back. This is carrying oxygen and valuable solutes. This is carrying oxygen and valuable solutes as well, but it's also bringing waste products back into the... Okay, so we've got our capillary, and we've had a net loss of fluid. So the volume is lower coming in. More has left than has come in. What happens to that excess? If you don't recover it, what happens is tissue swelling with excess fluid. But you do recover it. You recover it in lymphatic vessels, and lymph capillaries simply have a closed end of a lymph capillary. And lymph capillaries are also leaky. The fluid that has been leaving winds up in these lymph vessels. Fluid enters the lymph capillary, but where does it go? Lymph capillaries join to form larger vessels, which look structurally very much like veins, and those go back to join a major vein near the heart. So the fluid simply gets put back into the circulatory system. But what makes it go forward? There's no heart to pump this along. At intervals along your lymphatic system, are one-way valves, just like the one-way valves we've been talking about in hearts. And every time you move, when you contract muscles, they push on these. And when they push in, they create back pressure, which forces these valves closed. And so the only way the fluid can go is out. Again, everywhere along here, there's back pressure that forces these valves closed, and so the fluid gets moved all the way forward until it reaches the heart. This is sometimes called a muscle pump, or the skeletal muscle pump for the lymphatic system. All your muscles, every time you move, causing pressure. The problem with being bedridden is if you're lying there without moving, you can have fluid accumulation and not enough muscle movement to move the lymph back to the heart. Veins also have these same one-way valves. They're also a low-pressure system. And again, any muscle movement near a vein, so your ordinary muscle movements put pressure on a vein. The back pressure forces any backward valve closed, and so the only way out is toward the heart. You can often show these working on your own veins. You can probably find videos on the web showing evidence that this is happening.